Dara thinking maybe we can help with orphans. That was our initial thought. Ethiopia has almost 100 million people and over 6 million orphans. Just the vast majority, like half of their population's under 30. It's so young. There's a lot more children. I had a co-founder, Rochelle, and she had a couple from Ethiopia in Japan that she met. And so she said, let's go to Ethiopia and see if we can help. They begged her after they moved back to Ethiopia, come and help us. So we thought, well, we'll just go see. We'll just go see if there's anything with the orphans that we were doing in a different country in East Africa, if anything will help. And we had no idea what we were getting into. We thought we were doing just kind of a scouting trip to meet the families. And the couple's name is Woodna and Betty, Bethlehem. We call her Betty. We went to Woodna's hometown, Dara, and his father, Mulugeta, had been one of the tribal leaders. And so we thought, we'll go meet them. So we get in the minivan and drive to the middle of the desert forever. And it's been a drought for a year and a half, no rain. And in Ethiopia, if it rains, your crops grow and you eat. If it doesn't rain, you don't eat. And they were in dire situations when we came in 2008. We didn't know this. It's not on our news anywhere. And so we get stopped in the middle of the desert. We're like, what is going on? And Witness says, oh, this is our region and they've come to welcome you. I'm like, okay. So we get out of the van and they give us cold water, a thing of roses, and a mango. We're like, where did they get this? We've been driving and we don't see anything green anywhere. And so we were like, wow, thank you. And we met the leaders. And so we're like, that's amazing. So we keep driving and we finally get to Dara. And we didn't realize, they heard that we were coming and they had prepared a printed program. They had rented a megaphone and brought all the people in. There was a big crowd. And they took us, the tribal leaders, the leader of women and children, the Muslim imam, the Orthodox priest, they took us around and they showed us the water points. And there were just yellow water cans for as far as you could see, 3 lines. I'll never forget walking down those lines, videoing, and they just kept going and going, hoping for water, and I just started to cry. I mean, it's one thing to see it on TV, but when they're right there in your face and they're going, sister, sister, and you're just, oh, what can you do? And so they took us around, they told us their stories, how they couldn't embalm, they couldn't wash their babies, they couldn't eat, the children were dropping out of school, the teachers weren't going to school. Everybody would go look for water. And the women would go at 4 in the morning because they're farther down the mountain. They're at the bottom of the pipeline, so there's no pressure. So they would try and get up earlier when there's more pressure. And one woman we met had missed the gathering at 4 in the morning. And so she was by herself in the dark at 4, and a pack of hyenas attacked her, and she was in the hospital for 3 months. And her husband was there with 11 children, a set of twins. She's in the hospital, and we just thought, can this even be for real? We went and met them. It was incredible. And so, water, without water, you can't do anything. You can't do businesses, you can't do school, you can do nothing if you can't have water. So, Woodna said, you need to prepare to say something. Rochelle and I looked at each other, what are you talking about? Say what? What did we say? What did we know? We don't know anything. We just thought we'd come over and, I mean, we're thinking, I don't know what we were thinking, but we weren't thinking that. And they dressed her in the traditional dress, headband, necklace, bracelets, earrings, with this gourd all decorated. And she had to give a speech in front of all these people. And she just did such a beautiful job saying, we're women, we're mothers, we have families, we can see that you are just families and parents and children that need water. And we don't know what we can do, but we are mothers and we will try to see if there's anything we can do. And we represented hope to them. They had no hope. It had been like this for so many years. And they wanted a 20-mile pipeline that would bring water all the way down the mountain, all the villages along the way, to 60,000 people. And they had partners in place, but they were short $250,000. It's not a lot relative to the need of water for 60,000 people, but it's just two of us. What do we know about this? The very first trip in 2008, we signed a contract to raise $250,000, and we looked at each other and we said, our husbands are gonna kill us. I don't know what we're gonna do. It was so hard. And every time we think we're stuck, something would fall into place way beyond our control, and we'd just keep moving. And the next thing we know, 3 years down the road, we had a 20-mile pipeline of clear spring, consistent water coming to 60,000 people with 2 reservoirs and 22 new water spigots all the way down the line. It was a miracle. It was a miracle. So Hope Rising is currently, we've got medical teams that come to Ethiopia twice a year, including we have dental clinic, we have an eye doctor who is screening for trachoma, which has been causing blindness in a lot of our people. It's just a hygiene disease that's easily curable with $8 worth of antibiotics and some hygiene training. We've had some fantastic work in the schools, both with English, with computers, and then most recently the feminine hygiene to help the girls be able to stay in school so they don't have to miss a lot. So twice a year we bring teams, the volunteers, but our ongoing heart of our work that continues even while we're gone is strengthening the local women to take care of their children. And this is the answer. It's the answer to the orphan problem. It's the answer to the poverty. It's the answer to these women who will go off to Arabia to work and then get pulled into sex trafficking. The answer is to give them a job that they can do and support their families. So we've got a microloan program. It's unique though. Our microloans are interest-free, but they come with requirements for the women. They have to go to weekly business training. These women are hardworking. They are smart. They just don't have access to resources, and they don't have access to knowledge. So when they come to small business training, we get them those two things. We give them a microloan, like $200, so they can start a business basket weaving or selling bread at the market. All of these things make a dramatic change in their ability to keep their children in school and their ability to feed them and save and improve their business. It gives them the security they need to take care of their kids. Our biggest measurable success, what we finally found, is how do you measure that their businesses are helping these families? How do you measure that it's making a difference? And we've finally refined it down to, we just measure what percentage of their income do they get for food. And so Tira Warwick is one of our very first measurable success stories that we're like, this works. And she was working for $3 a month as a housemaid cleaning. And she just lived in a government room with the dirt floor and no light bulb. And we gave her a $200 microloan, and we gave her business training. And she started weaving baskets and making bread and selling them at the market. And it takes them a while. It's like 3 years, you know, to gather and learn and be successful. But we came back, and over time, she had paid back her entire loan. She was feeding all of her family, all of her extended family. Her children were in school, and she was making over $50 a month and had saved over $262. And what we measure is what percentage of that income is going to food. So at $3 a month, almost 100% of her money that she makes goes to buying food, and if she doesn't make the money, they don't eat that day. Everything they have in Dara, most of them are 80-90% that goes to food, just getting food. After the microloans, her income went up, and the percentage she spent on food was 25%. Just by comparison, 25% of your income. So most of Africa, at least Dara and Ethiopia, they're 70, 80, 90, 100% goes to food. Central and South America, you're talking 30 to 40% goes on food. Mexico's 25% of their income spent on food. The US is 10. 10% of our income goes to food, and we eat a whole lot more food than they do. So we found this is just a fantastic way that we can not only see visibly the improvement in her home and in her children and her hope, but also a real concrete, measurable way that we can say these businesses and this training is changing these families from poverty to self-reliance, and it's going to stay. And so the microloans have been the answer. That's what these women want. They want to work, they want jobs, they just need access to knowledge and resources. This is a hard question because there's no Mother Teresa story here. I can tell you that. Today is October 11th. 17 years ago today, I delivered a beautiful baby girl named Anne, and she had no heartbeat. And it was devastating to our family. It was devastating to me. My world was upside down, and I was shocked at how painful and how staggering that grief. Even though I had 4 beautiful children, the love for this individual little daughter was just astounding. And so I became acquainted with grief, I became acquainted with death, and I became acquainted with God. And so a year later, we felt very good about having one more child. We felt like this would be a blessing that we would add to our family, because Anne couldn't be with us, but maybe there was another little baby that could. And so a year after that, we had a beautiful baby girl named Christina, who was also born with no heartbeat. And the first time I was sad, but the second time I was mad, because it's much worse when you know what's coming. It's so much more difficult, and I can't do this. I cannot do this again. Please. But we don't get to pick, do we? And I became stuck in anger. It was hard for a while. I didn't get over it or anything. And so a very wise God said, I have some perspective for you. And I ended up volunteering for a midwife who was doing training for traditional birth assistance in Mozambique, Africa. And I sat the whole first day in Africa, and I just watched. I watched how most of the world lives and how difficult the lives of these women and children. And for some reason, the men are not in the picture. I don't know how to explain that other than to say the women carry the burden of manual labor and care. And in Mozambique, I started to get a little perspective. And I'll never forget, Anamikis was the nurse, and we went out under a tree and we taught these women, if you put 3 tablespoons of Clorox in your drinking water, it's going to reduce diarrhea by 90%, and that's the leading cause of death in children under 5. And right then and there, I said, I'm going to help these women save their babies. I don't have to be a doctor. I can do this. And once you start, you're hooked. And so I healed my heart. This is a work. It's an honor for my girls. It's my legacy for them. You know, if I can help women take care of their families and gain some self-reliance and have knowledge, I'm going to do it. And it's hard. It's hard for me to leave my family. And yet at the same time, I've brought all of my children, my husband. They've worked by my side. These children, my children, have been massively blessed from their experiences in seeing how people live, what hardship is, what gratitude is, what freedom is, and what opportunity we have in the States for education. And so I feel like everything we've done, we've received far more. What we've gotten from our association with these beautiful people in Ethiopia has far exceeded what we've given to them. We need them far more than they need us. And I just feel like it's been an absolute honor and privilege to have the association of these beautiful people in our lives and in our family and in our home.